Okay, good morning. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. This is the Human Endocrine System Screencast number one. I'm going to try to get the endocrine system in about three, if not four screencasts. This screencast is going to deal with the types of glands you have in your body, the hormones they produce. If you want to follow along, you've got page 394 and 395 in your textbook to at least look at the pictures. So we're going to take a look at the seven glands you see in front of you. And remember, for each gland, you're going to want to be able to name a hormone or hormones in particular. Number one, where do those hormones work? Where are they produced? And what do those hormones do? An overview. But you have with those things, it gives you an idea of how to set up your Cornell notebook for it. Okay, so as we go through, there is a picture there. You're going to want to find a picture on the internet or something having to do with, the endocrine system, even if it's all of the glands, not just these seven. All right, little coffee and we're off. The pituitary gland is found in the brain, and it releases hormones that work all over the body. The pituitary gland releases a hormone called human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is responsible, well, for what it says, growth. So if you're thinking about, all right, well, what is human growth hormone? Where does it target? Things like your bones, your tissues, and what does it do? Well, it helps to regulate, especially in the younger person, cell division, mitosis, synthesis of protein, bone growth. But it also produces hormones that stimulate other glands. For instance, our next gland down, the thyroid gland, which is located in your neck. The thyroid gland responds to a hormone produced by the pituitary gland called thyroid stimulating hormone to produce a hormone called thyroxine. Thyroxine is a hormone that increases metabolic rate and regulates growth and development. So it probably works in all tissues in your body. So metabolic rate, we mean the release of ATP. It also produces, a hormone called calcitonin, which lowers blood calcium level because a gland within the thyroid gland called the parathyroid gland produces a hormone called PTH, or parathyroid hormone, sometimes called parathormone, which raises the calcium level in your blood. And so, well, calcium is very important for bones. So that's a target tissue for both parathyroid hormone and calcitonin. So again, calcitonin secreted by the thyroid, parathyroid hormone secreted by the parathyroid gland, both of which are found in your neck area and really work body wide. We go down to one you're familiar with, the adrenal gland. Okay, the adrenal gland is separated into two parts. It has a cortex and a medulla. Not important. You know where the adrenal gland is, and it's on top of old kidney. We've already talked about the hormone aldosterone, so that's by the board. A couple of other hormones that you should know, of course, are adrenaline, also scientifically called epinephrine and norepinephrine. So basically, that's your emergency situation fight or flight hormone produced by the adrenal gland. Stimulates not reproductive organ. Stimulates emergency situations. I read the wrong note. Sorry. And so for things like that, raises blood glucose level. So we'll come back to that. We'll have an example of that coming up. So the adrenal gland, aldosterone, and adrenaline. Your pancreas, super important. The pancreas is going to secrete two hormones that control or regulate sugar level, insulin and glucagon. So again, if it's going to secrete those hormones, it's going to be targeting things like the liver, which gets rid of glycogen, other cells, muscles, fat tissue. All right, lowers and raises blood glucose level. We will come back to that on another panel coming up and highlight it. Letter G are the testes, the male reproductive organs. They are also called the gonads, Gonads. Okay, and the male hormone is called testosterone, and that stimulates the male sexual characteristics that we'll speak about in another chapter. The ovaries on the right produce two hormones. They produce estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone also are responsible for the stimulation of the female sexual characteristics, release of the egg, and other characteristics that we'll talk about in another chapter. So you can see on 395 you're looking at, we're not going to be responsible for all of those hormones. All right, so I'm going to go to the notes page. I'm going to go through quickly because you can always pause me and read these out. All right, so we take a look all the way down here, all the way through this way, so you know, and then I'll get hypothalamus in. I have the hormones listed in yellow here, and up on top, you have HGH, human growth hormone, FSH, which is what we'll talk about later on. It's a reproductive hormone called follicle stimulating hormone, and TSH, which works with your thyroid. You see the parathyroid hormone. Now you notice in the thyroid also I didn't include calcitonin, but we wanted to make sure that you understand that the parathyroid hormone raises calcium level and calcitonin lowers. They're called antagonistic. Adrenal gland, aldosterone, adrenaline, noradrenaline, emergency response. Pancreas, insulin, and glucagon. You see there the islets of Langerhans. That's a special kind of cells in your pancreas that just release hormones. Remember, the pancreas also releases enzymes into the small intestine, and the ovaries and the testes. Now, the hypothalamus on the bottom, again, not a gland, not a gland. It's a part of the brain that stimulates the pituitary gland. It is the link between the nervous system and the endocrine system. So you will see in some sources they call that the master gland. It is a lie. That is fake news. So we'll be back to highlight a couple of these glands. Also, we could talk about feedback mechanisms and feedback loops. Okay, so that ends this lesson. Screencast number 1.